Good evening. My name is Shirley Jackson, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Livingston County, I welcome you to tonight's online forum featuring candidates for the Brighton Area School Board. The candidates will be on the upcoming November 5th general election ballot. All 8 candidates running for the 4 seats on the Brighton Area School Board were invited to participate in this forum, and we are honored by those who accepted. The League is a nonpartisan civic and political organization that encourages informed and active participation of all citizens in government. The League does not support candidates or parties. However, we do take stands on issues we have studied. One of the League's most important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls. Therefore, we bring you tonight's program. We'd like to thank the Howell Carnegie Library for technical support, our League timer, Ellen Lafferty, and moderator, Annie Weaver, who will explain the forum's format and get us started. Annie?
All right. Good evening. My name is Annie Weaver, and I will be moderating the forum tonight. 4 of the 8 candidates from the Brighton Area School Board are with us tonight, and it is my honor to introduce them. We have Matthew Morneault, Kenneth Stahl, Katie Tierney, and Alicia Urbain. Listeners need to know that all candidates were invited to participate in this verbal question and answer format, and also were invited to complete written answers on Vote 411, so voters can go there to get even more information. Thank you, candidates, for participating in this forum. So now we are ready for opening statements that can last to up to 1 minute each. So candidate Morneault, we would like to begin with you.
Perfect. Thanks, Annie. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Morneault. I'm a parent here in the Brighton School District. We've been living here for the last 6 years. Got 2 students, one in 6th grade and one in 3rd grade at Horning Elementary. And really, I joined the race for the school board, one, because I wanted to show my kids it's worthwhile to be an active volunteer in the community and get involved in what we've got going on. And then also, just over the last couple of years, seeing the divisiveness and the hate kind of spreading out on the school board. So I feel like I've got a good disposition and personality to kind of come in and kind of help heal that a little bit and kind of help them get us back on the right path and get us heading towards the right future for our school. Thanks.
Okay, candidate Tierney, please answer the same question.
Here we go. First off, I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting the forum. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Katie Tierney. I have been a resident of Brighton area for over a decade. I've been married for 16 years to my husband, Kevin. I have 2 children in the district. My oldest is at BHS and my youngest is at Mulpey. I grew up in Michigan. I graduated from Milford High School, went on to receive my Bachelor of Arts from Michigan State University in Advertising and Marketing. I was a novice crew team member there. I also swam at Michigan State. After that, I went on to work in the field of ophthalmology in pharmaceutical sales, medical device sales, and then had my first child. From there, I stayed home, and that's where it took me to being so active in the community. I've been a BAS district volunteer for the last decade, planning events, fundraising, subbing, attending PAC meetings, board meetings, academic committee meetings, and of course, PTO meetings. And that's
All right, thank you. The question now goes to candidate Urbain for an answer.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. I appreciate the time that you guys put in to make sure that all of the citizens are informed. I am a 22-year resident of Brighton with 3 kids, all of whom attended Brighton area schools. My youngest is a freshman at Brighton High School. As an attorney specializing in education policy, I have extensive experience in shaping laws that impact schools. I've worked on passing 13 school aid budgets, ensuring that kids are funded effectively. Additionally, I serve on the State School Safety Commission as an appointee of the governor representing the Senate Majority Leader, giving me insights in creating a safer learning environment for our kids. My passion, though, has always been on making sure that every kid has an excellent education, regardless of where they live, the zip code, their economic means, or their background. And I work tirelessly to make sure that that happens in my day job and in the evening.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Stahl.
Apology, I thought you were unmuting me. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having us tonight. My name is Ken Stahl. I've been in the community for approximately 20 years now, give or take a few months. When I came here, first thing I noticed was our school, the disarray of some of the buildings and some of the fields. I immediately got interested in participating on a bond. I was asked to run that bond for the school district, and that has brought me to the present. 8 years on the school board. Previously, I do believe I've been here, one of the people with one of the most knowledge of our last 20 years in the school district as a participant. I am married to my lovely wife and teacher, 34 years of teaching. I have 2 adult children who did graduate from Brighton schools, and I have a tiny little 15-year-old in high school, a sophomore, very sports active.
All right. Thank you so much. So now we'll move into the questions, and candidate Stahl, you will answer this one first. So the first question is, what are your reasons for seeking a position on the board or seeking re-election to the board? Tell us a bit about yourself, your background and experience, and your connection or interest to the Brighton area schools.
Okay, so my background with the school district began in 2006. That was when I started getting active in the district. This one Dr. Gray was our superintendent during that time. He had kind of taken me around the district and showed me some of the needs of it. I was looking to fix our mud football field, which existed at the time, and I found out very quickly that the district needed many more things. So I go back to that bond. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things I did as a volunteer for the school district. It was a time when our school district was known for great grades, but that was about it. We weren't the go-to school district that we are now. We always had great teachers, but we needed that piece de resistance to get everyone to see Brighton and want to come here. And that bond, I believe, was the way we got that done. By building our infrastructure and in the way that we did, we brought sports to it. We brought updates to our band, to all of our buildings and our infrastructure. That is something that I do for a living right now in schools and hospitals and jails. So I do have a lot of knowledge in that. Prior to that, I was 17 years of my own residential builder. So I bring a lot of that knowledge to the district. I've always been the one about the trades in our district. I would like to see more of that. The STEAM Center was just the beginning of it, and I can't wait to get into that and in another term and bring more of that in. And I've got a lot of unfinished business. This has been my passion since we moved here. I'm in the attire 24/7. I can't support it enough. And I love Brighton schools.
Thank you. Next, candidate Tierney.
So my motivation for running is multifaceted, and it stems from my own children's love of learning. They started in the district back in 2015, and upon watching them go through the district, I fell in love with the way that the teachers and the community all interacted. It seems like a very strong knit community that I wanted to continue to be a part of. But furthermore, when I think about the kids, for me, I believe that there is no greater asset to our country and our community than the future generation of children. And so for me to influence that, I think is imperative. Secondarily, through my involvement in the district, I learned that collaboration is crucial, and I intend to bring a balanced approach to the board, thoughtful listening to the table, and acknowledging and appreciating the value of work invested in our community through educating our kids.
Thank you. Candidate Urbain.
Thank you. I'm running for school board to ensure that every kid receives the best possible education. Our focus must be on excellence, not on the division within a boardroom. While debate is good and needed, we can't afford to lose quality educators and administrators due to an unhealthy board culture. We should be in the newspaper for our excellence in our schools, not because of the debate in our boardroom. In addition, early literacy is a key priority for me. Our current 64+% third grade reading proficiency is unacceptable. We need to work harder to improve those outcomes. And finally, fiscal responsibility is essential. With declining enrollment in the state and revenues also declining, it's crucial we remain vigilant and make the most of our resources for our students. When my oldest was in kindergarten, Brighton became a deficit district. We can't afford to allow that to happen a second time. We have to make sure we're fiscally responsible and do the best we can for our children, regardless of anything else. So excellence in education is important. We can't get complacent. We hear all the time that Brighton is good, but Brighton can always be better. We always have to strive for great. And I think that starts in the classroom, but in addition, athletics, the arts, extracurricular activities, robotics, everything we do, excellence should be the standard.
Thank you. Candidate Morneault.
The running for school board and making the leap to get on the tickets. Really, the driving force behind that was I was tired of seeing our board members in the newspaper for negative news, and listening in on the school board meetings and seeing the divisiveness that's going on, where it's a lot of kind of hate and kind of back and forth against one another. So I felt like it was time to stand up and get involved. My 16 years working in higher education in fundraising and due diligence has allowed me to work with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. So I've developed a lot of skills to be able to flex my communication styles and working styles to fit with different folks. But I feel like I've got that personality to fit in well. But then also, I want to make sure that our teachers and our staff in our district are getting the resources and support that they need. I've been seeing over the last couple of years, it just feels like they're constantly being more and more pushed on with little kind of respect and consideration for that. So I want to make sure that we're looking out for them as well, because they're the ones that have our kids' education in their own hands. So we want to make sure that they're getting the resources and respect that they deserve.
Thank you. Moving on to question 2, and candidate Tierney, you will begin this one. The second question is, what are some major issues that you believe the school district is facing currently? How would you like the school district to deal with those issues?
Some issues that I see currently, one of them is student nutrition. Since the federal program has taken over, I've watched a slide in what we're offering our children, and I think it's underestimated in terms of how much value a quality nutrition program can provide to children who are learning. It's important for their growing bodies, their developing minds, their concentration, and so forth. So that is something that I'd like to put together a strategic plan to work on and change over the course of a few years. Secondarily, if you look at the academic achievement and excellence, I think that there are some areas that we're missing, particularly on the middle and the elementary levels. The middle school pathways that they have currently for math between 7th and 8th grade, I think they're missing a portion. I think some of that math is too easy for children, but the algebra might be too advanced, so they got to find somewhere middle where they can meet kids where they need to be met. And then looking at programs for the elementary kids that look at more project-based learning, experiential learning. I think that that is something that is missing. Student development is important. And then obviously the fractured nature of our board currently is definitely something that needs to be addressed and resolved.
Thank you. Candidate Urbain.
Thank you. As I said previously, I think early literacy is the most important thing we do as a district. Kids learn to read up until third grade, and then they are required to read to learn. We have kids that, because of COVID, have gaps in their learning and their reading. This is not to say there's a finger pointed at anyone and there's no fault by anyone in the district, but we have to do more. The other thing we have to do is get rid of the Teachers College Lucy Calkins curriculum for ELA. It has been deemed ineffective by multiple experts, and while we largely don't use it in the younger grades anymore, it is still the curriculum of record. And Maltby last week proudly displayed it at their open house that it is the curriculum of record for them. So we need to get rid of Lucy Calkins is one of my biggest things. Fiscal responsibility, again, remains high, and civility. While debate is welcomed, and I think we're better when we do debate, we have to debate civilly and respectfully, and we have to model it at the board level all the way through the district.
Thank you. Candidate Morneault.
I think the number one issue is fiscal responsibility. I think we've all got ideas on nice things that we would like to have in the district and like to see our teachers do, but we need to make sure that we're using the finite resources that we have with our funding in the most effective and efficient ways possible. Whether trying going in and slicing some from an athletics or some other kind of budget to adjust to make sure our teachers have what they need. We need to make sure that we're making sure that we've got our need to have things covered and funded fully versus just having all the nice to have things with our technology and some other things that we're spending our dollars on, but making sure that we've got well funded and not the unfunded mandates. So I think that's the biggest thing. Next, flows from that is making sure we've got any instructional support staff and funding for them. Kenneth have talked about the education gaps we've got thanks to our COVID that we had to go through. We need to make sure we've got funding to support those positions so we can bring those students back up and we can catch up the gap. So that, and then the last thing I've got as far as a concern is our busing, so situation transportation. So trying to figure out a way, how can we get more buses in the field? How can we hire more drivers? We've got more routes. So our kids aren't spending, an hour plus on a bus every day to and from school.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Stahl.
Thank you. A few issues that I'm thinking about is the board that struggles to collaborate. It's been mentioned by, I think, every other candidate here. That is something that needs to be corrected. I see chances, at least 4 other chances here to make that happen. It needs to be a collective debate, but it needs to be respectful, and it needs to be something that we want our children to aspire to. We need to be the examples. We're going to be the biggest cheerleaders there are up there on that table. Programming that gets kids out to see what their possibilities are for a career. We give them an awful lot of teaching. We give them the basics. We give them a few electives, not many. We just don't have the time for it. And I'd like to see that change. They spend all this time in class. They go out and either get into a secondary or primary college, start spending money, and they usually don't figure out what they want to do till they get about halfway through. So if we can boost that information and get the kids out doing some job shadowing, I do that already at the company that I work for, and have seen many people decide on a career during that point in time, or at least get a much better drive for what they would be good at. And the last thing would be language requirements. I have a problem with the language requirements. I know that they're vital for education and they help the brain stimulation. However, many of our kids never will use it again after the 2 years of required language that they have to take. I'll end it there.
Thank you. Moving on to question 3, candidate Urbain, you will start this one. If you are elected or re-elected, how should your school community measure your performance at the end of your term? What would you need to do to earn an A or an excellent grade? If you are already on the school board, how would you grade your present leadership?
I think I would grade school board candidates based on, there's 2 things they statutorily need to do. One is pass a budget, and the other is hire the superintendent. If we do those things well as a board, the rest of it usually takes care of itself. That's not to say the board doesn't need other influence and policies, but we need to be fiscally responsible first and make sure we have effective administration second. After that, I think we have to look at the things we were able to accomplish. Did our fund balance grow or at least not decrease during our time as a board? Did we create more flexibility for kids? I know that one of the other candidates mentioned that we need more electives. The law currently allows a lot of it. There's a ton of flexibility out there. Brighton's just not utilizing it. We have the personal curriculum. There are other things that the state allows flexibility on, like waiving phys ed. Brighton's requirement for that is way more stringent than the state's requirement. So there are other things we can do to create more flexibility without even any changes in law. And then I disagree that we also need to make sure that kids don't need foreign language. We do need to make sure every kid is able to go to college. And college requires 4 years of foreign language at the most part, and we shouldn't decide that and let them choose in 9th grade that they may or may not go to college. They should graduate ready to go whether they want to or choose trades.
Thank you. Candidate Morneault.
Yeah, I think the the two biggest measurements. One is, if somebody's looking at my performance over 4 years, if my name's on the ballot again, do they feel comfortable voting for me again? I think that would be a big measurement. I think two is, did they felt that they were well informed during the last 4 years on what's going on with our school district? Do they feel that we're sharing information and keeping them informed appropriately? I think that would be two of the biggest things. Then obviously looking at all the measurements, we've got all the state data, how our test scores increased. How's our budget look? Are we above board, or have we gone into the red? So I think it's pretty easy, and just making sure that our board members are transparent and communicating with the community, and making sure that they know with the direction that we're going. I think it's an easy way to measure of our folks.
Thank you. Candidate Stahl?
So I have been a school board member for 8 years previously, and very active in the passing of the bonds previous to that. I've been through what I consider the worst time ever in school history that I can remember, which was the COVID ordeal that we went with, and making many decisions based on, first off, I don't think anyone on a board should be here for any political reason. This job is about kids, and your job is to make sure that this school district runs in an optimal way for 99.9% of the kids. And I only say that because there's always someone that you are not going to be able to reach. But other than that, politics need to come out of it, and that is also a lot of the diversity that we see sometimes on the board recently. I believe that I was measured by what I had done in the past as far as making it better. I believe if you make something better than the way you arrive to it, then that is the measure of your work. Be open with your constituents. Make sure they know what's going on at all times. Within the law, there are some things that you can't discuss. However, but anything that you can get out to your constituents and everyone else in the district that'll listen to you, keep them informed, because they're the ones that come in and actually push us to make the changes. And that's the way it should be.
Thank you. Candidate Tierney.
So when you think about the jobs and responsibilities of us as board members, as Alicia stated, some of the things we are required to do is adopting policies, adopting and overseeing budgets, helping set district goals, and to hire the superintendent. I think if we do those things right and well, the school system should function properly. And I think that collaboration is another big focus for us, to make sure that we are a unified front and that we can advocate for the kids in the district, the administrators, the teachers, to make sure that we're functioning appropriately and together. And I think that's what kids need to see. And so that would be a good measure, is the temperature of the district on top of what everybody else said. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to question 4. Candidate Morneault, you will begin this one. A district is only effective if it serves all constituents. What specific steps would you take to ensure that our students from poverty, students of color and diverse backgrounds, English language learners, homeless, students with special needs, as well as students who identify as LGBTQ+ benefit from instruction opportunities.
Yeah, I think the first thing you do is you try and meet with those families, those students that represent them, and then also meeting with our counselors within these schools and making sure that we've got programs and policies in place that are making sure that those students are able to receive, the education that everybody else was, making sure they've got an equal chance to have a top-notch education. So I think it's getting out and making sure that we're speaking with those students and those families, making sure that they know about the resources that we've got, and then also talking with our staff in our schools and making sure that we understand what gaps that they're seeing. Are there new policies, new programs that we should be thinking about and putting in place that we're not currently meeting. And then, the third one is reaching out into our community and finding what other programs are available out there outside of the schools that we can help promote and partner with.
Thank you. Candidate Stahl?
Yes, I can touch on this a little bit on my previous question, but constituents are the pulse of the district. And by constituents, sometimes that gets twisted around as to the people that I talk to, but this is everyone in the district. They all have anyone that has a stake in our school, and that's basically anybody that lives in our community. We have an innate, I'm lacking the word right now. We need to continue to grow our schools, maintain our schools, update our schools, in order to provide the best education we possibly can. We need to make sure that we're all working collaboratively at that one goal, which is basically to make Brighton better than the day before. Our constituents' property values are something that actually are affected by a great school district, but the ones that have children are more concerned about their education. And by fulfilling our duty, which is to make sure that every kid gets an education regardless of their status in the district and has the equal value to those students. Excuse me, I hear my throat. It doesn't matter what their status is in the district. They're all equal when they walk in that door, and they should be treated as such. Everyone should get all the same opportunities to graduate from Brighton schools and have all the tools they need to do well as they go out into their careers and create their families.
Thank you. Candidate Tierney?
With Ken on this one, I think it doesn't matter what your background is or where you come from. Everybody's entitled to a education depending on their needs, and our district should serve them. So if our district is serving the various needs of children, whether it be CTE, college readiness, English language learners, whatever the gamut is, if those children are able to attain their goals that they set for themselves, then we're succeeding as a district. That's all I have.
Thank you. Candidate Urbain?
I think the best way to do that is just remember that we're in this for all kids. We need to be colorblind, blind to their economically disadvantaged, their zip code, whatever it is. It's all kids, and all kids deserve to learn. I just took a quick peek at our economically disadvantaged scores. It's slightly lower than our district as a whole, but not much, which means we're actually doing a decent job of keeping that gap low, but we need to keep it together, and everybody needs to get better at third grade reading. And I forgot to say in the last question what I should be measured by also is, did we get rid of Lucy Calkins? Did we kick her to the curb? If we did not do that after my 4 years here, then I deserve not to be elected again.
Thank you. Moving to question 5, and candidate Stahl, you start us with this one. Ongoing two-way communication between the school district and parents is key to building strong partnership and trust. In your opinion, as a school board member, how important is parent input and feedback in shaping district policy? What are your recommendations for improving communication, including the district's and each school board member's social media messaging?
Okay. Well, we've kind of touched on that with this previous question a little bit about our constituents. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to repeat the question quickly. Just the first part.
The ongoing two-way communication between the school district and
That's
parents.
what I needed. Thank you for the kickstart. We do a really good job with emails. Our current superintendent, previous superintendent have done a great job of having emails out every week. All of our principals send out weekly, for at least on Friday. Sometimes they do them on Mondays as to what's going on. So if you have kids in the district and you are part of that emailing address, you pretty much have to ignore your emails in order to not know what's going on in the district. The other way we can do that, you need to get out in the district and you need to talk with people. Go to your churches if you have them. Go to sporting events and see what people are thinking. You can get anybody to talk about just about anything at a sporting event. I've got some of my best information at the football games. This is an opportunity for us and the district to shine by letting everyone know what's going on and getting people involved. And when you find someone that didn't know something was going on, you have a duty, I think, to pull them in and get them educated on it, because the schools are the pulse of the district. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you. Candidate Tierney?
When thinking about parental involvement, one of the things that I loved about our district is when they put together the strategic plan, they got parent feedback, parent involvement. And I think that speaks volumes to how our district can collaborate. When thinking about a parent-teacher relationship, some of my fondest memories were going into the classroom and learning the math curriculum that was being taught to the kids. And I think it's important to have that open relationship, because it allowed me to then help other parents who might not have had that opportunity to show them the way that division was being taught now. So I think when we talk about parent involvement within the district, it's incredibly important to keep the lines of communication open. They're just as important to the district as teachers and our administrators and our kids.
Thank you. Candidate Urbain?
Thank you. I actually think the question's a little misguided. It's not about the communication, the parental involvement. We need to make sure that parents are welcome and encouraged in everything we do. Pre-COVID, some of the schools, actually all of the schools, allowed parents to come in and have lunch with their kids. Post-COVID, that's not continuing. Not every school is doing that. Pre-COVID, you could come in and have a quick conversation with a teacher before school. Now you have to have an appointment. And I think the safety is super important. Remember, I'm on the statewide school safety commission, but there are ways that we can let parents come in and have those quick conversations using all the safety regulations and procedures. So I just think we need to welcome the parents into the building more, be transparent, and allow them to see what's going on and get their feedback in any way that they see necessary. But I don't think it's about communication, because we actually communicate really well as a district. It's about really getting them involved.
Thank you. And Candidate Morneault?
Yeah, I'll echo what most folks have been talking about. I think our communication, we have got a great plan from the superintendent down to our individual school principals. Do a great job pushing out newsletters. Our teachers do a great job of trying to keep what's going on, what they've learned in the past week or what they got coming up for the week. Doing a great job of sharing that information. And again, it comes down to getting our parents more involved and hands-on. So giving them opportunities to come into the classroom to volunteer, and also getting them to come out to the school board meetings, either watch it on YouTube or come out to the meetings in person, but listen and hear what's going on. And you're really encouraging our school board members to be open to having parents reaching out to them and talking, getting them in groups, because they're on the front lines with our schools. We need to know what's going on, what's impacting them. But then, again, it's going out and being our school board members being in the schools, in the community, whether it's at the football games, like Mr. Stahl referred to, or going into our schools and sitting in on a program and listening to what's going on and what our teachers are doing. So I don't know that we need to increase our social media presence. I think we need to increase our face-to-face presence more often than not.
Thank you. For question 6, candidate Tierney, you'll start us with this one. According to Pew Research Center, 1/3 of public K-12 teachers say students being distracted by cell phones is a major problem in their classroom, and another 20% say it's a minor problem. What is your opinion on restricting of cell phone usage and access by students in the district?
I am old school and definitely in favor of restricting usage of cell phones. I think it's important for kids to learn face-to-face interactions with their peers and engage one-on-one without the distraction of a cell phone. I don't really think it serves a purpose in the school in general. I know that it has been used to access QR codes for homework and whatnot, but you can use computers to do research in the classroom or other things. I think the cell phone usage is a problem, and I would like to see it limited.
Thank you, candidate Urbain.
So I live and breathe this as a person who works in education policy. We've debated this often in Lansing, although I don't think that mandates come best from Lansing. I think that individual school districts are best to decide. While research shows it's a problem, I will also tell you there's some current polling from National Parents Union out there that says parents actually don't favor this policy. Parents still have some mistrust of schools. They have mistrust of what's happening in the classroom. They have mistrust of whether their kids are being treated fairly. And they have a fear, post-Oxford, post-school shootings, they have a fear that their kids are not going to be safe and they want to get a hold of them. So I think it's a delicate balance. I don't know that there's a one-size-fits-all here. But I will tell you that my son went to high school at a private school. And when he was there, they allowed, as appropriate, cell phones in the classroom for things like QR codes and stuff like Ms. Tierney said. But they did not allow them at lunch. It was a zero tolerance at lunchtime. And they had to talk to each other. We actually have it backward, I think, in Brighton. It's not allowed in the classroom, but it is allowed in the high school during passing times and at the middle schools at lunchtime. And I think we need to get to kids talking to each other. And so I think those social times should not be allowed. And if there's appropriate time in classroom, maybe that would be allowed. But I think it needs to be handled on a school-by-school basis.
Thank you. Candidate Morneault?
Yeah, I think this is really comes down to it's a grade by grade level decision almost, even by an age level. I'm very much against him having it in the classrooms, having it out and about, and I'm really having them at school at all. I mean, that's something that I deal with every day with our daughter. She's got a phone, but mostly they put it in their locker room and they can come in for the day. So it's a delicate balance. I'm not sure that there's a great choice one way or the other. I think we just continue to have the conversation with our teachers and our staff, and trying and check in on our research and see what's best practice. But making sure that we make what's the best choice for Brighton and our students, balancing safety, access to information, and then also what's best for the classroom as well.
Thank you. Candidate Stahl?
So I would like to say, Ms. Urbain kind of took a lot of fire out of what I was going to say about this with some of her statements. Thank you. Technology is a great tool for learning. There's no doubt about it. That's why we provide them with laptops in school. I can see the use of the cell phone under certain conditions and on a per teacher per basis type thing. I do know that cell phones, especially when they come home sometimes, as COVID had a big part of this, has become a big part of their socializing. It's gotten to the point where they can be in their room with a speaker on and you swear there's another person or two or three in that room with them. And I've got a son that gets involved in some of those sports activities online, and he comes out of there sweating just as much as he does at a basketball game. So I think he's getting some exercise out of it. But I would like to say that I think you will find fight in the parents still. I agree that they are scared for many reasons out there, as Mr. Urbain had already said. And but I think a graduated approach to this, put it in the teacher's hands. They already have all those pouches on the walls that they put them in, and I understand that they get almost 100% of the kids to not even ask anymore. They're pretty well trained to put them away during class time. So just a few little things to add to what Ms. Urbain already said so eloquently. Thank you.
Thank you. For question 7, candidate Urbain, you'll start us with this one. According to the CDC, 1 in 3 high school students have experienced persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness, and 1 in 6 have considered suicide. How can the district effectively address the declining mental health of students who are struggling with these serious issues?
I think the best thing the district can do is turn it over to experts and not try to do it as educators. I've been following some movement around the country where there's schools that contract with mental health providers. And when similar to like an employee assistance program, when somebody has a problem, they can call professionals. This is a student assistance program, and they can get professionals. Educators are being asked to do so much every day. And if we also ask them to solve the mental health problems of kids, we need to make sure the educators are doing what they're trained to do. And that's teach kids to read, write, math. And we've got to get some other professionals to do the things, the mental health side of things and other, things. I mean, think about how much time in the things that are being put on teachers. They now have to know CPR. Do I want a teacher to save my kid's life? Absolutely. But it's also important that they teach my kid to read because that's their expertise. They have to be experts in EpiPens. They have to be experts in spotting, threats. Teachers are being asked to do so much, and it's just not fair. We need to ask them to do what they do best and turn the rest over to other professionals that have expertise in those areas, like mental health.
Thank you. Candidate Morneault?
Yeah, I think that we could continue to continue our programs, even strengthen our programs that we've got for our social and emotional learning that we've got in place the last couple of years. I think getting kids to understand and vocalize and be able to understand their feelings and what's going on and verbalize that to our staff that we've got, whether that's our Brighton staff where we contract out. I think being able to, allowing them to understand what's going on, giving them tools to handle that would be great. I think having additional fully trained mental health providers in the school would be great as well. Again, it comes down to, do we have the budget? Where do we get the budget for that, or do we have other folks that are trained on it? But I think looking back at our elementary level, we have our the huddles program where it's kids from various grades coming together, getting to know each other, understanding that they've got somebody that they know and go and talk to in other grades. I think that would be great as these kids move on through. They get up to high school. They've got kids that are seniors above them, or they've got other kids in the school that they can go to and say, "Hey, I'm struggling. I'm having having a hard time with this." They've got somebody they can go and talk to. So I think it's just taking our current programs that we've got and increasing them and continuing them would be great for our students.
Thank you. Candidate Stahl?
Yeah, I think our kids have a lot to deal with now. Stress is at a high level. We put a lot on our kids. We expect a lot from our kids. I think we need to get the parents more involved at this level. When our counselors do a great job and our teachers do a great job, but I think we need to have that one more step. I'm not sure exactly how that looks, but somebody that reaches out to the parents that's trained in doing something like that, bringing them in and having them be 100% a part of whatever it is we're dealing with. I think when you take it upon the district and you take it upon a district employee, many times you get in that situation where those parents think now you're trying to parent their kids. And it's a time in their life, maybe I'm not going to say any specific reasons, but whatever they are dealing with may be a shock to that family as well. And that's where the professionals need to come in, and we just basically need to smother them with as much help on the outside of the district and in the inside based on their input to get them through whatever it is they're dealing with. it would be much easier, I think, if you could just put it all out there and bring people in. I think there's a balance. I think you need to bring people in that are professionals at it, even if it's not at a full-time position, but at least part-time where they can see them. But it also has to come from inside as well as it starts there.
Thank you, candidate Tierney.
This is a tricky topic. I think mental health is something that has grown significantly, especially for our Gen Z and Gen Alpha children. I think the mental health industry has changed a lot in the way that we treat, discipline, and talk to our kids, and it doesn't seem to have changed the mental health outcomes for the better. These problems seem to just be growing. I think we don't let enough children work through their hardships and support them in a balanced way. I do think mental health services are needed for some, but I think that pendulum has swung too far. And we've adopted this sweeping approach for all. We allow children to create situations where they ruminate on simple childhood topics instead of, addressing them and dealing with them and growing as a human. I think we do a lot of counseling for kids that they don't need counseling. I think it creates a further issue. So for me, while I do support mental health when necessary, I don't think it is necessary to be in the schools for the teachers to deal with. I think that's something that needs to be left to the professionals and under the parents' guidance and what they choose for their children.
Thank you. This will be the final question of the evening, and candidate Morneault, you'll start us off. The increase of school violence in all its forms, mental health, gun violence, cyberbullying, is of grave concern to parents. Specifically, how should school safety be enhanced or improved by your school district?
Yeah, this is obviously this is on everybody's mind, given the recent events. I think our schools, I think we're doing as much as we can right now, given budgets and facilities. I think we're doing the best that we can. Areas that we can improve on would be communication. Right now, it seems to be, if there is an event at a school where there's a lockdown or some kind of safety issue, it's relegated within the building. There's, it's hard to communicate out to parents. It's hard to communicate across the district that there's an issue going on. But I think there's a way that we can go and we can increase communication in such a situation like that. Then also just continue our partnership with the Brighton Police, the county sheriffs, and making sure that we're up to speed on latest best practices. And then continuing to evaluate and look at our buildings and our events and making sure that we don't have any kind of gaps or blind spots with our students. But then also making sure that those, the systems that we put in place are not then also kind of barricading our students and kind of making them scared to even actually go to a school. So there's a fine line there, but I think it's definitely something we need to make sure it's front of mind and continuing to evaluate each and every day.
Thank you. Candidate Stahl?
Yeah, this has been in the works for quite a few years. I have the advantage on this one as I was here for some of this. We've made great strides, and it's probably one of the greatest things that the school board did after the Oxford incident. We really kicked it into gear. We do have a lot of staff that are now in positions in our district to protect our children. We have changed the way you can enter our facilities. We've implemented Michigan State Police guidelines. Some of you may have already experienced it by going into a building to see your children. You can use your driver's license and they take a picture of you so they know exactly who they have. Millions and millions of dollars have been spent on this so far in our district, and we're always looking for another way to do it. Hearts of the bonds, many cameras have been implemented in the district, which help in the surveillance of it. But the thing about these terrible incidences is that they usually, we do know now historically that they seem to follow the same type of a pattern. You can't necessarily know when that's going to happen at any given time. The best means of protection you have are boots in the field, if you don't mind me using that term. And with people are the difference, and it needs to be someone that is spending all of their time concentrated on that one situation to keep something from like this from happening in our district.
Thank you. Candidate Tierney?
I think we are incredibly lucky to have Dr. Outlaw here as our superintendent regarding this topic specifically. He had the foresight to put together some of the best safety responses in the country. Brighton Area Schools was actually looked at recently, and that's what they deduced, was that we had some of the best security in the country. And I think it's due to our district safety plan that includes prevention, preparedness, response and recovery procedures for natural and human caused crises. So I think the best way that we can continue to keep that status is to continually review all of those things and make sure that they are still up to date with the current programs.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Urbain?
Thank you. This one definitely hits my sweet spot. Before the 13 years of doing education policy, I actually did criminal justice work. And so school safety comes in the sweet spot between the two, which is why I do serve on the State School Safety Commission. And for a number of years, I also served on the Brighton Safe Schools Committee. Now it's an ad hoc committee. It was an official committee when I started. I was the one who brought Raptor, which is the where you scan your license, into the district. A bunch of the schools I had previously worked with were using those. In addition to a picture, Raptor actually does an instant background check. So they know whether there's somebody that shouldn't be in our schools, like a sex offender. I also worked on the initial package of school safety bills back in 2005. We passed a 38 bill package that I wrote the majority of because there were 400 and some felons working in our schools to require what they call rap back. So once a person was hired before with a fingerprint background check, they subsequently got arrested, nobody was notified. There's now an electronic system to notify not only the school, but the state board and the contractor who hired the person. So I've been involved in school safety well beyond my years even in this committee or community. And I think it's important. The bottom line is, though, if someone's intent on doing evil, there's not much physically you can do to stop them. You have to work on the prevention.
Thank you. And now it is time for the closing statements that can last up to 90 seconds each. And so we will begin with candidate Stahl. Please give us your closing statement.
Well, I want to thank you, the League of Women Voters, for having us for this. I think it's important that people get to know who we are and what we're about. I've spent over a decade in our district trying to make it better, working through the problems, bringing us to some of the highest points we've ever been, and seeing through some of the lowest points. I have a lot of life left in me to give to this district. I still have a student in this district. And so that having that stake in the game, if you will, keeps my heart pounding every day about schools. I have a passion for this, and I will continue to use that passion to make our schools better on a daily basis, to help us get through things, to work collaboratively with the team that is put in place after this election. There's some really great people here on this screen that I'm talking to. And I can't wait to get back and take us to the next level. We can never be complacent. We need to be striving forward, putting more programs in place, continuing our safety in the school district, taking care of the social emotional problems, and getting our community as more involved than they've ever been before. And I can't wait to be the big cheerleader up there on the desk again. Thank you very much, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you. Candidate Tierney, now it's your turn.
Thank you all for hosting this forum tonight. I appreciate the time you put into getting questions for us. I think for me in closing, I think about my time and dedication that I've already put into this district. It's been over a decade, and I have loved every minute of it. I've met some incredible teachers, parents, people in general, kids, and I would love to be able to be part of making this district and community better. I think it's imperative that we continue to support and invest into our kids' academic, athletic, extracurricular, social and emotional, moral needs that they might have. And I think it's important to focus on fiscal responsibility, collaboration, all of those things I intend to bring to the board. And I look forward to the opportunity to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Urbain, we'd like to hear your closing statement.
For me, it's 3 words: kids, kids, kids. It's about putting kids first and making sure we do the best for every kid in our district and what we can do for any kid who lives in Brighton, even if they don't go to Brighton area schools. It's important that we put kids first. I have and have proven to work with people of all political affiliations. I have some endorsements from some of the most conservative members in this community and some of the more liberal members of this community. And to sum it up, I think the education chair of the House Education Committee, Matt Kolazar, said this about me recently. Well, Alicia and I have disagreed on a variety of issues. One thing we've always agreed on is to put kids front and center. Alicia and I have always had honest conversations and in several instances found areas of compromise. I have no doubt if elected to the school board, she would work with anyone, no matter their political affiliation, to do what she believes is in the best interest of kids. And again, it's about the kids.
Thank you. And candidate Morneault, please give us your closing statement.
Yeah, my thanks to the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum tonight, giving us a chance to get our voices heard by more folks than we could probably reach out to in a single weekend. So I appreciate the time and the effort and the community sharing the questions. It really kind of gives us a chance to understand what's important to them, so they can get our views on that. So, as far as a candidate, I think I'm just like any other parent that's in that district. I went to what's best for my students, or for my kids and students, and I want to make sure our teachers have got the support and the respect that they deserve. So, looking forward to the campaign and hopefully for the chance to represent our district on the board for 4 years. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. A huge thank you to each of you for participating in this very valuable session tonight. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Livingston County, Shirley Jackson will now provide a closing statement.
Thank you, Annie. The League thanks all the candidates tonight for participating in tonight's forum. We really appreciate it. And to the League volunteers who assisted in the forum's development. All of our forums will be available for streaming on the League of Women Voters Livingston County Facebook website and also our YouTube channel. You can also review these candidate forums when you go to the League's online voter guide, which is vote411.org. The League of Women Voters reserves the right to publicize the forum and may, in their option, invite the media or some other entity not associated with any of the candidates or campaigns to provide televised, radio, or other coverage of the forum. Copyright ownership of the tapes or transcripts resides with the League of Women Voters. The candidates and their supporters will not use the forum, portions of the forum, or any audio clips, video clips, or transcripts for political advertising or other purposes without written permission from the League of Women Voters. Absentee ballots are available on September 26th, which is the same day that Vote 411, the League's online voter guide, is published and available for voter education. A printed copy of the voter guide is available at all public libraries in Livingston County. And just a reminder, early voting begins October 26th through November 3rd, and you can find your voting precinct at the Michigan Secretary of State's website. The general election is Tuesday, November 5th. You have plenty of opportunities to vote absentee, vote early in person, or on election day. Just be sure to use your voice and vote. Thank you very much to everyone. Have a good evening.
Too.